Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we pull out the essential, actionable insights from your source material. If you work for a nonprofit or maybe you manage their outreach, you absolutely know the feeling.
Oh, that pressure. It's immense.
Exactly. The pressure you face when you walk into a huge conference, a trade show, or even a community event. You've got this tiny bit of rented space
A few square feet.
and a massive mandate.
Yeah.
You need to recruit, you need to engage clients, raise awareness, and you're almost always doing it on a shoestring budget.
That pressure is so real, and the default reaction is usually, well, it's canic. And that leads to the classic bake sale table.
I know exactly the one you're talking about.
You do. A folding table, maybe a simple banner, stacks of flyers. Organizations will spend thousands just to rent the floor space, and then they find they're not getting any real meaningful impact. What the sources really stress is that a successful event presence isn't just a display, it's a whole strategic campaign. It starts long before the doors open, and honestly, it defines your work for weeks after.
That's our mission today, exactly. We are taking a deep dive into that blueprint for success. We're pulling out 6 impactful strategies to transform a basic, passive booth into a real engine for your cause.
Yeah.
We want to get you from just occupying space to actually generating conversion.
And maximizing that return on investment, which is so crucial for those precious nonprofit dollars. To give you the context behind all this, we should mention this deep dive is based directly on a really insightful analysis we found. It's in a blog post called From Foot Traffic to Impact, Strategic Booth Tactics for Nonprofits.
It's a great read.
It is, and if you want to review the full article, maybe share it with your team, you can find the whole thing on Nonprofit.Courses.
We've also put a direct link right in the description to make it easy for you. Okay, so let's unpack this blueprint starting right at the foundation. The first step the research highlights is, well, it's probably the most counterintuitive one, especially for a nonprofit. You have to clearly define your why, and you have to accept that your why is probably not fundraising.
This is so critical. A lot of nonprofits just see an event as a mini fundraiser, but if your success is measured by donations you collect on the spot, you are absolutely setting yourself up for disappointment.
At a budget failure.
And a budget failure. I mean, think about the attendee. They're overwhelmed. There's so much going on. They're walking fast. They are not going to pull out a wallet and commit real funds to a stranger. The friction is just way too high.
So if it's not about immediate cash, what should the goal be? The sources lay out 4 really high-impact, actionable goals. And what's critical is that each one dictates a totally different booth setup.
A different staffing model, too.
Exactly.
So first, if your goal is recruiting volunteers, your whole booth has to feel vibrant and accessible.
Right.
This means it has to be staffed by your most enthusiastic current volunteers, not just your admin staff. Your volunteers are the best advertisement for the volunteer experience. The focus should be on scheduling follow-ups, not just handing out paper.
Okay, goal number 2, engaging mission recipients. So if you need new students or patients or clients to use your services,
Right.
your materials have to be all about client intake. Clear accessibility info, welcoming visuals. If your booth is just covered in donor statistics, you're sending the absolute wrong message to the people you're trying to serve.
Third one, selling products. So this could be merchandise, books, event tickets. You are now a retailer.
A pop-up shop.
You're a pop-up shop. Your booth has to look like one. Clear inventory, clear pricing, a fast way to pay. If it looks like an information desk, people will just grab a flyer and keep on walking.
And finally, advocacy and awareness. If your goal is getting petition signatures or raising awareness for, say, a legislative issue,
Where?
speed is everything.
Everything.
You need a quick, zero-friction way for people to sign up right then and there. So a bank of tablets, probably.
Yes. A muddled goal, trying to do all of these things at once, recruit volunteers and sell shirts and sign a petition. It just guarantees you're going to get poor results on all of them. And that specific why is the foundation. It feeds right into strategy 2, which is mastering the budget.
Right. And here is where the financial paradox just slams into a budget-conscious nonprofit. The sources warn us that the price you see on the invoice for the floor space, it's a fiction.
It's not the whole story.
The true cost of attending an event is roughly 3 times your booth's price tag.
This is the 3x multiplier rule. It has to be built into your financial planning from day one. That space rental fee is, it's the foundation. But if you only budget for that, you are dramatically underestimating the total cost.
Okay, so what are the 3 parts?
You need to allocate the budget across 3 core categories. Each one takes up about 30 to 35% of the total spend.
The first one's easy. Space rental. That's the land you're leasing for a few days.
The second is exhibit and design. So this is your physical stuff, the graphics, the signage, the structures, any AV you rent, and the specialized labor you have to hire to actually build it.
And the final one, and this is where the hidden costs live, is operations and logistics.
The big bucket.
The big bucket, right. So staff travel, lodging, printing materials, shipping everything, and all those essential show services like getting electricity or an internet connection to your booth.
And inside that operations bucket lies this one critical hidden cost that just financially cripples small organizations. It's called drayage.
Drayage. It sounds like something from a medieval fable, but it is a massive modern budget killer. Could you break down what it is and why it costs so much?
It's basically material handling. It is the fee you pay the venue's exclusive contractor to move your stuff, your crates, your pallets, your boxes from the loading dock across the convention center floor and into your specific booth space.
Yep.
And then they charge you again to move it all back to the dock at the end of the show. And this is totally separate from what you already paid to ship it there.
So the pain point is that these organizations often pay more to have a box move 50 feet inside the building than they paid to ship it 500 miles across the country.
Exactly. Because this service is almost always managed exclusively by the venue's contractor, often under strict union rates, they have a monopoly. There's no negotiation. If you ship materials, you will pay the drayage fee. You have to plan for this, or you risk these catastrophic budget overruns that can just sink your ROI right away.
So we know the real cost is 3x. That means every single dollar has to count. Which brings us to strategy 3, securing Mindshare. Because the biggest return on that investment actually happens before we even get there.
That's right.
A packed booth isn't luck, it's pre-show effort.
100%. The most valuable real estate isn't that corner booth you paid extra for. It's the space inside an attendee's mind, weeks or even months before the event. Your goal is to build buzz and get on their personal must-visit list before they even arrive.
And the research lays out a really solid, phased approach for this. Starting at 3 months out, you lay the groundwork, you announce you'll be there, you share your booth number on social, and crucially, you create a dedicated landing page on your website.
And that page needs an incentive, right? Like an exclusive download that's tied to whatever your primary goal is.
Yeah, and that early timing is so important for those high-value meetings. Use this period to schedule appointments with potential partners, big donors, corporate sponsors. Get those on the calendar before you ever step on the floor.
Then, at 1 month out, you turn up the volume. You launch an email sequence to your supporters, give them a sneak peek. You ramp up social media with teasers. Maybe you promote some of the cool swag you're going to have.
But the most effective part of this phase is personalized outreach. Getting your own team members to send personal emails or LinkedIn invites to their contacts. It can't just be a generic, "will be at booth 402. It has to say why that person should stop by. And finally, 2 weeks before is the last big push. Post your booth location with a map, make it super easy to find you, and promote any special activities, like an expert talk or a demo. You have to stay top of mind.
So they get there, they have you on their list. The question then becomes, how do you get them to stay? And that's strategy 4, which is all about understanding that modern attendees want an experience. They want a service, not just a sales pitch.
It's that shift, isn't it? From a purely transactional thing to creating a real, meaningful interaction. A booth that provides value, keeps people there longer, and that dwell time. That's where the natural, low-pressure conversations happen.
We have 3 really strong, nonprofit-friendly ideas for this. First, host expert talks.
Okay, this sounds smart, but let me push back a little. Won't that block the aisle? How does a small nonprofit with a tiny 10 by 10 booth manage this?
That's a great point. You can't have a giant stage. The sources suggest doing micro talks. You invite an expert, a board member, a researcher for short, scheduled 10-minute talks in a corner of the booth. You use a small monitor, maybe some wireless headsets for the audience.
Ah, okay.
It positions you as a knowledge leader, and it draws in a really pre-qualified audience that's actually interested in your content, not just the free candy.
Excellent. The second idea is pure hospitality. Provide a charging lounge. I mean, these events are exhausting. Phone batteries die so fast.
It shows you care. You offer a small, comfortable area with charging stations. Even for a small booth, this could just be a couple of high-top tables with charging towers.
Right, no bulky couches needed.
Exactly. And this simple act of service gives your staff a perfect low-pressure chance to chat with people while their hands are free and they're kind of stuck in your space for a few minutes.
And the third idea is simple, but it's so important. Offer high-quality, mission-aligned swag. We have to move beyond the generic pen.
Oh, please. The swag has to be a storytelling tool for your cause.
So what's an example of that?
Well, if you're an environmental group, don't hand out plastic toys. Offer a really high-quality reusable bag made from recycled materials. For an animal rescue, we saw a great one where they gave out branded collapsible water bowls for pets.
That's smart. It's useful.
It's useful, it's high quality, and it reminds the user of your mission every single time they use it. It stops being a marketing expense and becomes a mission-centric investment that feels like a real gift.
Okay, so we've got traffic, we've got buzz, we've got a great experience. Now we have to make sure we don't end up with a huge list of people who only wanted a free dog bowl and couldn't care less about our mission.
This is where we hit strategy 5. Capture fewer, better leads by qualifying them on the spot. We have to be relentless about quality, not quantity. A small list of 50 hot leads is so much more valuable than 500 cold contacts who just grab some candy.
The key here is training, right? You have to train your staff and volunteers to use polite, open-ended questions to qualify people against that primary goal from strategy 1.
And it has to feel like a conversation, not an interrogation.
Right.
Think about the questions. Instead of, do you like what we do? You could ask, what brought you to this event today? And how does our work connect with your interests? Or if you're recruiting, maybe, if you had an hour to volunteer tomorrow, what would you actually want to do?
That immediately tells you if they're a hot lead or just a warm lead for the newsletter.
Once you have that info, you classify them immediately. We recommend 3 tiers. Hot leads are people with immediate, actionable interest. They signed up for a shift. They asked for partnership materials.
Then you have warm leads. These are the passionate people who need a little nurturing, maybe potential partners, great candidates for your newsletter.
And finally, cold leads. Brief interaction, they grab some materials, they're potential social media followers, you put them in a much slower, longer-term sequence.
And to do this, you have to ditch the old ways. The fishbowl for business cards has to go.
It has to. Paper gets lost, handwriting is illegible. It's just a mess.
So you need a digital lead capture tool, a tablet or a smartphone, to scan badges and immediately add notes, context, and that qualification tier right there on the spot.
And that digital capture flows directly into our final, most critical, and honestly most failed step, strategy 6. The event is not over until the follow-up is done.
The statistic here is just staggering.
It's a fact that should shock everyone listening. Nearly 80% of trade show leads are never followed up on.
80%.
Think about that. If you spent $15,000 on an event, 12,000 of that was just wasted on leads you never contacted. It's an incredible squandering of money and opportunity.
So to avoid that, speed and personalization are everything. You have to act fast, contact your hot and warm leads within 24 to 48 hours while the conversation is still fresh.
Well, the emotional connection is still there.
Exactly.
And you cannot send a generic mass email. It will be ignored. It has no relevance. You have to use those notes you took on your digital tool to personalize the outreach.
Let's really contrast the two. The generic email has a subject line like, "Thanks for visiting booth 402.
Delete.
Right. The personalized one says, "Here's the shoreline cleanup guide we discussed." And the email opens with something like, "It was great learning about your company's search for volunteer projects. As we talked about, here's a guide we created that might be a perfect fit for your team."
That level of detail shows you were listening. It confirms the value you offered, and it immediately positions your organization as a partner, a resource, not just another nonprofit asking for money.
So the sources suggest a simple cadence.
A simple multi-channel approach. That personalized email, maybe a LinkedIn connection, and then share another relevant resource a few days later. Speed and substance. That's everything.
This has been a really comprehensive deep dive.
Yeah.
I think the main takeaway for me is that success isn't about the size of your banner. A successful nonprofit booth is a full campaign. It's an end-to-end strategic process. It moves from defining that very precise why to building momentum with pre-show mindshare. And then it secures the entire legacy with prompt personal follow-up.
Absolutely. By applying these 6 strategies, by moving beyond that transactional bake sale table and focusing on high-value interactions and disciplined follow-up, you can transform your next event from just a financial line item into a powerful mission engine. So we'd encourage you to ask yourself, how will I apply these tactics to transform my next booth from a simple table into a real engine for my mission?
And if you want to review all 6 of these strategies, get the full context on that 3x multiplier rule and the specific lead qualification tips we talked about, just remember this deep dive is based on the blog post, From Foot Traffic to Impact. Strategic Booth Tactics for Nonprofits.
You can find the full article and a ton of other valuable resources on Nonprofit.Courses.
And that link is waiting for you right in the description below.